Okay guys, welcome back. This is going to be a bit of a quote tool sort of introduction. So on the home screen, if you want to do a quote for a customer, just click on Certificate Quote Tool. And here we can add a new quote that we want to do. And I'm going to do a New South Wales quote in this example. I'll probably try and make a Victoria and SA quote as well, video. But if you're in New South Wales, obviously you don't want to be seeing those, so I'll just do New South Wales for this example. Alright, company name. Make sure you enter all the details here so that you can actually go back to this job at a later date and you know who it was for. So name of installer, Matt, that can be me, project just project 1, Rose Street, City Sit. Now it's important here that you do enter the postcode, because the postcode will actually affect the number of certificates. So if you leave that blank, you might actually get a slight error, as you're going to get some additional certificates, I think up to 3% more certificates if you're in a regional area doing the upgrade, and that's determined by the postcode, which the app will take into account. So let's say 2000 here. And there you go. Also down here, it's very important to note, one of the things that in New South Wales they are cracking down on with the auditors and IPART is the minimum co-payment. So this will automatically calculate the minimum co-payment that you need to charge your client in order to meet the requirement. Once you've entered the details here, it says no spaces yet, but click the plus button to add a space. So alright, add a space. And now you're going to get your spaces start listing down the left hand side here. If I want another one, there you go. So let's work on the first space. So space name, let's call this one the office, office 1, or maybe it's got a name on the door, 1A. Make sure you're very descriptive. Space type, you can scroll down. These are all space types under the building class of Australia. This just takes a little bit to get used to, so if you're not sure, ask Demand Manager. We can give you some information on how to classify each of the space types, but the way that the auditors and IPART and different regulatory bodies interpret which space is which can change from time to time, so please make sure you're up to date with the latest interpretations of the rule. So I'm going to click here, office, lit to an ambient level of 200 lux or more. Now, BCA classification. You can see here, after I picked office as a space type, eligible operating hours has already gone to 3,000. Under the scheme, they're going to give you 3,000 operating hours if you are doing an upgrade in an office. Obviously, lights are only saving energy when they're on, and so they're saying that in an office, we'll allow you to claim that the office lights are on 3,000 hours per year. If I was to pick a different space type, for example, a restaurant, you can see that switches to 5,000. So they're saying that you're allowed to claim 5,000 hours if you have a restaurant. So make sure you're paying attention to that, as it does affect the number of certificates. So I'll go back to office for this example. BCA type, this is actually what the building type is. So within a building type, so you have a BCA class 5, which is an office building. So you can hit that. But within there, you might have several spaces which you can put along the side here. So you might have office 1A, and then, for example, there might be a storage area. And if there's a storage area, you can have multiple different spaces within the office building. Moving on to the before lighting upgrade, you can choose what type of lights were there before the upgrade. Quite often in an office, you get T8 lights and maybe the magnetic ballast. If it doesn't explicitly have on the ballast the letters EEI equals and then A1, A2, A3, for example, if it doesn't explicitly say that, you need to pick no EEI marked. So that's the type of thing we're going to do there. Magnetic, but it doesn't actually have the EEI marked. Lamp power, usually 36 watts each. Quantity, let's say there's 120 fittings, but they're all twin. So, 120 tubes, but they're all twin, so 60 fittings. So 120 tubes. When it says quantity, that refers to the number of tubes, not the number of fittings. Control system, you can see the options there. Quite often it'll just be a switch, so there's going to be no control systems before. Air conditioning, it's important that you get that correct, as it can affect the number of certificates. So yes, there is aircon in the office. Now you can select what you're going to replace that with. So in here, you can pick one of my favorites, which is saved there, Emerald Planet and LED Luminaire Recessed. So if I click on that one, it comes up and it's saying that it's going to be, I'm expecting this most likely to be a LED panel light that can replace a twin 36 watt tube, and it has all the details. Approved wattage from IPAR is 38.85 watts. And now obviously the quantity is going to be half because there's 120 tubes but only 60 fittings. So here I'm going to put in 60 fittings of this new panel light. And perhaps there is an occupancy sensor or a daylight link control. In this occasion I'm going to say there's none, it's still just a switch. And there is aircon, so you can hit yes. And now you can see down here the number of eligible certificates for this room with 120 fittings, 120 tubes going to 60 LED panel lights is 131.83. Then if you go back out, you can see my test company here. I click on that. It's going to give us the minimum co-payment required, with the total certs being 131, is you must charge your client $621.86. Now, given that the scope of a project can easily change, I would tend to overcharge the customer just to give yourself a little bit of a buffer. You don't want to have a project become ineligible because you undercharged after the scope changed. So, you know, for example, if I got that, I might actually charge $6 or $7 per megawatt hour just to, you know, up to you, but just to cover yourself. As you go down, if, for example, this unnamed space was 20 eskies, then the total would be down here as 151. Anyway, so that's how you can do a quote for the New South Wales scheme on our tablet, and you can save that. It'll be saved in here as test company. If you need to go back and search for it at a later date, once you get a bunch of different quotes in there, it's possible to do that. So just hit the search button. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for New South Wales. I'll get back to Victoria and South Australia at a later date. Thanks.